Hi guys. So we're going to do things a little differently tonight. Instead of coming live in the group, I am recording this video and I will be uploading it for you. We're going to start right away. So Hill opens up chapter 2 right away, telling us that he's had to undergo a serious new birth. And what he means by this is that he's had to let go of his ego and he's had to learn who his higher self is. And not only did he have to learn who his higher self is, but he's learning to communicate with them. Some great examples that he gave us of how he experienced communicating with his higher self was in chapter 1. One of them was a loud sound of energy. So many of us experience ringing in our ears. As a child, when I was walking down the driveway, I used to hear the energy in the power lines buzzing, and then as an adult, I hear those cicada bugs that sound like chainsaws. And so I imagine that this is how the energy came off and sounded to him. Myself, I have more of a feeling and a sensation than I do for hearing the energy. Another thing that he said is he had a sudden change in what he was doing. So this is kind of like walking into a room and completely forgetting what you went in there for. The only difference is that you have been purposely guided off course, either by your higher self, your guides, or the angels, because they're always trying to help us and get us going in our life's purpose. Another thing that he said was clear voice. This simply just means that you hear the voice. The voice can sound like your own, or maybe it even sounds like another person. From my understanding, because time is infinite, they can have any kind of accent they want. So, for example, I watched something about animal communication because that's what I'm studying right now, and she said that the cat's accent had come off as Russian, and there's other times where it comes off as like this just really meek voice, so the voice can literally be anything. So I have experienced both hearing my own voice come through, and I've heard that of others that I recognize. So for instance, when I went to go communicate with my dad, because I know his voice, I know who he is, I've physically seen him and had interaction with him, I was able to hear his voice coming through. But if it is someone who I don't have interaction with, so like my guides, for example, I don't really know their names, I don't know what they look like, I just know they're there and that they're helping me. So when I hear something come through of that sort, it just sounds like my own voice. And it really takes time to realize the difference between your higher self, the ego, and someone else talking to you. So just give yourself time and patience. Oops, sorry. And honestly, I think that we all struggle with wondering if what we're hearing and who we're hearing at certain times is legit on these journeys. I just think that's something that we all stumble upon every now and again. Sorry. Okay, so another thing that he said is clear thoughts and visions coming through. So one of my favorite things to do is talk to people who have clear visions, because it is like they are giving or getting a movie screen playing out for them, and it is just the coolest thing in the world to hear how it plays out for them and what they see. And these visions can last anywhere from a split second or longer. It all depends on how long the communication wants to be held with you and what they also want to share with you. So a clear thought is literally that. It's as simple as it sounds. It is a clear thought that comes through and puts you going in a certain direction. Sorry, I lost my track. So a lot of us do actually get these clear thoughts. Our higher self comes through and they give us these clear thoughts. The best example that I can give you of this right off the top of my head is the good angel and the bad angel. The one that tells you not to do this and the one that tells you to do this. The good angel would be considered your higher self, so to say, and they're always talking to us, and we have fear and self-doubt that tend to hold us back from everything. So some other examples of getting in touch with your higher self can be meditation. You can reach communication in meditation. They might send you colors or symbols and synchronicities to communicate with you. Sometimes I'll be thinking about a certain thing and a song will come up and it'll be lyrics for, it ties in directly with what I was thinking of. Or I'll see a number synchronicity and then I simply just Google whatever the number is. So like 1111 and then meaning. Or if nothing comes up for 1111 meaning, I Google 1111 spiritual meaning. I never Google anything about love or anything like that. I just go straight to the big source. So the biggest thing that I suggest that you guys do is pay attention to the self-talk going on inside your head. Because when we start to listen to this self-talk, we start to hear the ego that comes through. This is the voice that keeps us in fear, holds us back, and gives us excuses as why we should not move forward with a project. So when you're tuning in and hearing these voices in your head, you're also going to hear your higher self, which is the voice that guides you in loving directions, and it's never going to put you down. It's never going to call you names or be mean in any way, shape, or form. It's never going to be mean to anyone else. The higher self is literally the best version of us in all levels, in all ways. And then what I just described to you, that's how the higher self was explained to me when I was searching for what am I listening for a year ago when I started. So that is what I was told, and that's what I'm telling you guys. And the other thing I want to add about this is the higher self is automatically going to choose the best outcome that serves the highest good of all. The ego is going to choose the best outcome that serves self. Alright, so as Hill is going through his entire list of names, he's come to the end of his names, he's exhausted, he's find himself mentally and physically exhausted, he hasn't been sleeping well lately, and in this moment he realizes that his cup is empty, so to say. And when we talk about the energy cup, we always talk about how we have to have our cups full so that they can overflow, so that we can help others. And essentially what happened is that Hill has exhausted himself because he is so desperate to reach his end goal that he just kept pushing forward and barely getting any sleep. So what happens is he enters a state of meditation, and in this state of meditation, when he awakes right away, he hears a name, and right away he calls the name, and he follows the complete guidance from his higher self, and his goal becomes a completed vision. So at the time Hill wrote this book, he admits to us several times that he's not sure who this higher self was, or his other self as he calls it, but he's absolutely certain that anyone who uses it will experience no permanent defeat. Hill's wish is for others to discover this relationship with their higher selves, because it's going to lead them to a closer relationship with that of source power, which can surmount obstacles and master difficulties instead of letting us be controlled by the circumstances around us. The best description of this would be just living life on autopilot. There's so many people who are living life on autopilot, and Hill wants us to get out of that autopilot life and into this higher self and creating or manifesting our own desires. So he also tells us that the most famous and wealthy people in the world had to go through a lot of obstacles. And he gives he says that this gives reason for the infinite intelligent law that's, I can't remember who it's by, I gotta look it up, I have it circled and stuff in the book. It showed up down in the 7th or 8th chapter with the name of the guy and the book, so I'm gonna look that up. But anyways, moving on, do we have the patience to find our higher selves and listen to our guidance? And then really it also comes down to how bad do you want the end goal, and how easy are you going to give up and quit? One of the most famous sayings that I know, which also holds a lot of truth, I believe anyways, is success comes right as we are ready to throw in the towel. Why? If we don't give up, we are destined to eventually succeed. It's inevitable that we get what we want if we want it bad enough and consistently take action. So this is going to bring us into our next topic. Why do we have to fail when we really want something? Like when we really, really want something, why can't we get it? So Hill has told us several times that if we just listen to our higher selves, we can have whatever we want. So why is it that when we want these things, we're not getting them? So I want you guys to make note that this is what Hill is referring to as temporary defeat. And these are what obstacles that arise that make us learn new ways to achieve what it is we want. Okay, so Hill suggests that if we start listening to our higher selves and communicating with our higher selves, we're going to experience less of these temporary defeats. And so faith is another reason why we don't achieve our end goal. And I love how later in the book this is talked about. I can't wait to get later in the chapters with you guys. So faith is, oops, sorry, got an itch. Faith is important. So we simply have deep-rooted patterns, and we need to heal these patterns, and we need to rewrite our subconscious minds, because a lot of the time we don't feel worthy of what we want. And so when we don't feel worthy of something, we're automatically telling the universe, hey, I really don't want this. So underneath that feeling of, subconsciously believing that we can't have it, without realizing that we don't believe we can't have it, there comes a worry or a feeling of worry and fear. So when we're focused on what we want so much, it's also another way of saying to the universe, okay, I don't believe like I can actually get this, so I'm going to keep focusing on it because this is what I need. I need this, I need this, I need this. And so we'll get there, I guess. I'll just hold my words. But so it's very important to not have those feelings of worry or fear. But if you do have those feelings of worry or fear, you're probably going to catch yourself saying things like, it's never going to happen for me, I don't understand how this is possible, how I'm going to get it, or you might even hear yourself saying, I don't deserve this. It is critically important to stop that kind of thinking and immediately begin on reprogramming your mind. So Hill says that peace of mind and true happiness can be achieved when we connect with and learn to trust our higher selves. I 100% agree with him. So while we're talking about this feeling and realization of temporary defeat, let's really think about some of the ways we are brought down by temporary defeat to the point where we allow it to feel like permanent failure. One example is people who say, I woke up on the wrong side of the bed today, and it's like 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So they've allowed themselves to wake up on the wrong side of the bed and stay in this bad mood for the entire day. And sometimes this mood lasts till the next day, sometimes a week later. I mean, who knows how long people can stay crabby, everyone's different. Another thing that many people, myself included, have experienced is meeting a rude person at their job. Like, it's evident that they really don't want to be at their job. They're just there for a paycheck, and they end up being really mean to you. Well, what can sometimes happen is we end up absorbing their mean energy, and we end up taking it out on people later that we really don't mean to. And then another common one is bad drivers. A lot of people out there allow bad drivers and road rage to get them so worked up that by the time they get back from wherever they went, they are just raw. And what about strangers on the internet? So many times we allow strangers' words to dictate how we are going to feel. Words are just words, you guys. Until we allow them to carry energy to us, they are just words. So they can also be bigger events, like not getting the job promotion we wanted. These events shouldn't really change who we are, but they end up doing so because we wanted that promotion. And so because we don't get what we want, we end up taking a step back and going into child mode and maybe doing some stupid things. Another one, and this one happened for myself, is losing custody of a a child. And this one really felt like permanent defeat for me. But looking back on it, there's so many lessons that I learned from the entire experience that I definitely wouldn't change it for the world. And another one that's really hard for me was the death of my dad. I really didn't think I was going to overcome that. The death of a close loved one or someone close to us can really seem like it's going to become the end of the world. And then when we overcome this type of deep loss, it really helps us, because when further things happen in the future, it's almost like, okay, well, I went through this, so this is nothing compared to this, you know? And then another thing that's happened for me and others is accidentally making or having an overpayment come out and getting financially behind. So this can feel like a disaster, especially when your subconscious mind needs to be reprogrammed around money. But the important thing is to remember is that you are now a payment ahead. So instead of bringing fear into the situation, you should allow it to bring you a sense of relief, because you're now a payment ahead. So moving on, now we're going to look at how failure is a blessing in disguise. So there's really a solution for every real problem, no matter how difficult the problem may seem. And sometimes the problem seems so big that we can't see our way around it. The reality is that we need to keep trying. Through trying, we end up learning, and by learning, we find ourselves succeeding. Every failure leads us to learning something new about what to do, what not to do, or how not to do something. If we didn't learn anything, we would be the exact definition of insanity. The only way to completely fail is if you give up. Remember that. The only way to completely fail is if you give up. As long as we don't give up, we are practicing having faith in our goal, and new roads will always appear for us to keep going until we have reached our end goal. It's in moments and situations like these that we really need to rely on our higher selves and our guides to help us out with grace and ease. Without failure, we simply cannot recognize success. We wouldn't know what it is. So I am convinced that as human beings, we live in this world of opposites to help us understand things better. So some examples of this are happiness and sadness, hot, cold, light, dark, failure, success, big, small, good, evil, oxygen, carbon dioxide. I mean, just look at the world. There's so many opposites out there, and you can't have one without the other. Another way that failure is a blessing in disguise is that it helps us move forward. Like I said about my dad dying, when a difficult situation happens and you're able to overcome that, and a new difficult situation comes up, this new difficult situation no longer seems like it's that hard, because you've already been through this in the past. So Hill talks about the economic depression that started in 1929, and he points out that despite the setbacks that so many people had to experience, the depression was actually a blessing. It forced a lot of people to change their habits and turn to their higher selves and their guides and find solutions to their new temporary defeats. Some people would say that Hill was being rude, but in my opinion, he understood what temporary defeat was, and he knew that it helped people to get out of the mundane autopilot of life. People end up gaining so much knowledge and growing so much, but not many people were able to see it that way. So now we're going to talk about what the difference is between a wish and a belief, and are they the same thing? The simple answer is no, they're not. Anyone can wish for something. When I think of a wish, I automatically think of, I don't know how to go about getting this, so that's why I'm wishing for it. And a wish is full of fear and worry energy. Belief is a clear knowing and that whatever you desire is going to be yours eventually. Belief is 100% backed by faith. And again, I can't wait to get further in the chapters with you when they get into detail about this stuff. So A wish is something that should be turned into a belief. We are given wishes because we do have, in fact, what it takes to achieve the end goal of the wish, even though we may be met with temporary defeat. But if we follow our intuition and listen to our higher selves, we're eventually going to get where we're going. Even if we don't have our higher selves and guides to guide us. I mean, as long as you have your foot on the gas pedal and your mind set on what it is you want and you keep going for it, you're eventually going to get it. So our minds act upon our dominating thoughts. So if they are thoughts of fear and lack, then that's exactly what we're bringing to us. If our thoughts are of happiness and peace, then this is also what we're going to attract to us. One of my favorite things that I love to say to people is our thoughts become reality. So, really think about what you're saying. And this goes back to the beginning of what I said is focus on that self-talk. Focus on that self-talk that's in your mind, because that's really going to help you figure out the ego, the higher self, when you're going into child mode. I mean, that self-talk really helped me to understand a lot of what was going on with me. And so a belief is a process of trust and flowing with life, a clear understanding that what you want and need is going to be provided for you. I believe we are given these tests of temporary defeat so that we can build up these values of faith and belief. And then without faith or belief, nothing's possible. So if we don't, with a belief, nothing is impossible because we keep striving towards the end goal. When we think about having a belief, we also need to think about gratitude. In this book, gratitude is talked about as prayer, which is described as a written or spoken word with definite intention. Often, when our beliefs go unanswered, it is because we are not in the right state of mind when we ask for them. Example, are we calm? Are we collected? Are we coming from our heart center? Are we in faith that it's already ours? So Hill describes faith as being the open door to our sixth sense, the one that connects us to our higher selves and infinite intelligence. I love reading this the third time around because I was not awakened in any way, shape, or form just a short year ago. So to read it this third time or fourth time now, whatever time it is, there's so many things that are like, whoa, light bulb. So he goes deeper and he says that faith is the whole reason the whole world goes round. He talks about how the seeds become trees, the night becomes a new day, how winter, the death of winter brings spring every year. The world around us is literally a proper balance of harnessed higher intelligence. And we can totally access this if we want to. So, what is the purpose of prayer, letting go, and having intentions? When we are wanting to obtain an end goal, this is by far the most important step. This is the first step in manifesting anything you want to desire, and here's how we do it. First, we need to forget about how the end goal is going to be obtained. Yep, that's right, I said it. Forget about it. Get what you want in your mind, and then let it go. We also need to let go of the outcome and continue to follow our intuition, our higher selves, and our guides for the wisdom and guidance we need. So listen to that clear voice. Maybe you get the clear vision, whatever kind of communication it is that you're developing with your guides, you got to listen to that. And then we need to just hand over our intentions to the universe and that trust that it's all going to come to us. Prayer, or gratitude, if you prefer to call it, results in a plan that fits the steps of actions needed to take to obtain your end goal. So we end up transmuting this plan by taking self-action. We are taking steps every single day to obtain this goal. Prayer and gratitude are expressing thanks for what we already want as though it's already ours. The first step in opening up to the world of gratitude is to take a look around you and see what you already have to be grateful for. When we do this, we're able to see how truly blessed we really are and how the universe has supported us thus far. We also need to express gratitude for the good and the bad things that have happened to us. We talked about how to look as failure, or how to look at failure as a blessing, and this is the same thing. Bad experiences also need to be looked at as blessings because they helped us learn so much from them. And then when expressing gratitude, you'll have the best possible outcome if you connect to your heart center. So how do you connect to your heart center? You put your hands on your chest, right over your heart center, your heart chakra. You close your eyes. You take a couple deep breaths. And you just let your body relax. When you feel your body is relaxed, you can say out loud, I set my ego and my critical mind to the side at this time. And then you're in that heart center space. So it's super, super easy. We're almost done, guys. So in the first 2 chapters, Hill has told us so many stories about his higher self coming in to help him get to the next stepping stone. When these moments are happening, Hill seems to be experiencing the same thing. First, he's having an idea flash into his mind. Second, when he's thinking about these ideas, he's having more realizations. And then third, he believes in these realizations and these ideas so much that he continues to listen to the guidance, take the self-action steps necessary, bringing him to the next stepping stone, which brings him to hit his goal each and every time. Oh, hold on. I'm going to flap this. There. Alright, so Hill tells us that every time he followed the guidance from his higher self, he always got what he needed. He says he may have reached temporary defeat, but he always found a way around it. And remember what I said earlier, the only way to fail is if you completely quit and give up. Not mentioned in the book, but I really thought this was worth talking about, is why do we have to experience these moments of temporary defeat? And we kind of talked about them a little bit, looking at failure as a blessing, but here's a different perspective of it. So we need to experience these for personal growth, first and foremost. We need to grow into the amazing beings that we are becoming. We needed all these experiences, or we simply just would not be who we are today. I believe another reason that we have to experience these setbacks is because each one of us is working on breaking karmic cycles from the past. And what that simply means for, so for me, example, and of course my brain went numb, but the karmic cycles are like, the bad habits that either our parents or our ancestors or someone was unable to break. Suicide is a big one. Lots of family members have an issue breaking that suicide thing. Alcohol is another thing that people need to break that karmic cycle of. I mean, there's just so many different things, and I'm still learning about them. So feel free to chime in if you know any that I don't. And then also, maybe you've noticed that the same temporary defeat keeps coming for you, and this is just so simple. It could be that you haven't learned all of the lessons from it yet, so it's going to keep coming and keep coming and keep coming until you've learned every single lesson from that temporary defeat. And another reason I think we get them is because it's like the ultimate test. Like, the universe is like, how bad do you really want this? Are you going to keep going? When are you going to quit? I've got your head buried underwater right now. Are you going to swim to the surface again? Like, it's, I really think it's the biggest test. And then one of my favorite things or reasons that I feel like we have to experience these defeats is so that at some point in time we can turn around and we can help other people who are where we once were. My dad always used to tell me that just trust him, because he's been there. Like, every time I went to him, no, don't do that, you don't want to do that, trust me, I've been there. And the truth around those words after he passed away, I just started to realize the truth around those words in the last couple of years. So he was not wrong on what he said about that. And it's truly amazing to me to read this book and see our world today in the same state of turmoil, panic, worry, indecision, and fear that it was in around the same time that Hill wrote this book. I truly believe that we have been given this opportunity to put to practice what Hill and many others out there are teaching us about when it comes to mindset, faith, intentions, and everything else we talked about today. We are in a time when we actually have some free time to discover who we are, what we really want to do, and what we are truly capable of. An important thing that I want you guys to remember as we're closing is that this journey is one that never ends. We have to continuously work on transforming fear into faith, living in the now, opening our minds to the true and unlimited possibilities of the world. All right, that's it. I really hope you all enjoyed Chapter 2. I'm really having a fun time reading this book again. I am sending you all lots of love, lots of light, and many, many blessings. Namaste.